great event, very, very useful, very constructive, and a wonderful atmosphere, as you all know. So thanks to you all. But special thanks, I must mention a number of people. Mark Baddesley, Badger from Coventry, who's not here because he's still out on the river with some of the youngsters with the canoes, but he's done a tremendous job, been a really invaluable part of the build-up team. He's going to be here for the takedown. A couple of days' time, you'll think it's all over. There'll still be people here doing stuff to tidy it up, just as there were days ago to start organising it. So great job by Mark, Heidi and Joe and their kids. Absolute credit to Hungary. And again, huge amounts of work from them for days after days after days. A lot of responsibility as well. To the security team, Martin Reynolds, Lindsay and their team, including some of the lads who've in fact been away for a couple of years and they've come back, and I hope they're here to stay. Martin, the lads have come back. Yeah. They are indeed. So thank you to them. To Jennifer and Councillor Mathis. Has Councillor Mathis gone again? He's off site because we've run out of pop for this evening and there's some people stopping here, so he's yet again doing an errand. He really does want a big round of applause. And to Oliver for letting Jennifer do some work occasionally. Well done, Oliver. And most of all here to our hosts, Mark and Mr. Nixon, Mrs. Nixon, who, as always, put up with any brickbats that may come their way through having us. They put up with anything that we may do. And Mark, as you know, was there this afternoon to take the youngsters out with the bit of clay pigeon shooting. So absolutely tremendous. We really do appreciate Mark and Mrs. Nixon, their hospitality and their support. A round of applause for them. Now, as I said in my opening talk the other day, this is a very, very important event, not in terms of size, because we had to play it down to slip under the radar and to rebuild as we undo and reverse the damage that was done to the nationalist movement, to our party a few years ago. So this is an important stepping stone. It's important also that, this isn't something I said the other day, but I felt with the red, white and blue, it had slightly lost its way. Didn't quite know what it was. Was it trying to be a conventional festival run by us, or was it something, done by us and a bit different? It didn't quite seem to know. And the killer blow really was when the council wouldn't allow us, or we thought the killer blow, the council wouldn't allow us to have amplified music, and people came along to the music and so on. And I remember some of those events when we'd have a band who put a lot of effort into it, playing on a big stage, and 5 or 6 people listening. And that was all, and everyone else just scattered all over a big site and so on. And, well, what are we doing this for? Quite, what do we get out of it? And I think this event, making it smaller and testing things, I think we know our way. It's got to be, we called it a family event, but when it's something for 40-year-old blokes with not quite enough hair to play the music that was being played 25 years ago or whatever, and drinking lots of someone else's lager, it wasn't quite a family event. And I think this is more of a family event. This is us. I'm absolutely convinced from next time, whenever we do something like this again, red, white and blue or whatever, if the councils won't let us have a licence to have a band, does that matter? No. Did it matter last night? No. We didn't need a licence for last night. We could do last night with 1,000 of us, 2,000 of us. We wouldn't need a licence for that, and we don't need a licence to be ourselves and to enjoy ourselves. And instead of sitting and watching 1 or 2 people up on a distant stage, we're all doing this together. And I think that's something really important. I thought it would work. It did work. It worked. Thanks to you. Round of applause for who took part. So the family and the cultural face of British nationalism is definitely back. We have our direction and we will continue in this direction. We, the British National Party, are also back, going to be back politically as well. We saw that. We know exactly what to do from the Maryport experiment. We've rolled the same thing out in the northeast of England, in Burnley, in Dudley. We've rolled the same thing out with voter registration and postal votes. And we know that there's an enormous amount of people out there who want to vote for us. Perversely enough, they won't vote unless we go along and help them. It's really quite simple. UKIP are taking lots of votes at present. They're taking votes off the Labour Party, off the Conservatives, and off us, out of the people who always used to vote. But out of the people who don't vote, they're taking nobody. Those people are just sitting, loathing all politicians because all politicians ignore them and have nothing to say to them. And when we knock on their doors and talk to them and then say, postal vote, it's easy. The Labour Party do it with all their various pets, and that's why they keep winning elections. We've got to do the same. It works. It is the way back. It's how the Labour Party have beaten us into the ground, just with postal votes. If we continue just to put a leaflet through a door, we are not going to win anywhere. But if we do what's right, which is working in a community and getting people to register to vote and have postal votes, we will win. I guarantee you that. It's just a matter of doing it. Not thinking, oh, we'll do something else, we'll experiment with something else. The party's done its experimentation, we've done it centrally, we know what works, we've now just got to get out and do it. And doing that, we're going to win. We nationalists all over Europe, as we discussed earlier on today, we are cooperating more closely. Some of the lessons we've learnt over the last 2 or 3 hard, bitter years won't be relevant to other nationalists. Some of them will be. Some of the lessons that the Golden Dawn have learnt aren't relevant to us. But what they've learnt and what they've shown in terms of how they can really get themselves absolutely into the hearts of their people, not by helping all of them, but by showing they're helping some with these food parcels, with this food aid, with serious, concrete help for ordinary people. With no qualification, will you support us? Are you going to vote for us? None of that. There's only one consideration that they have before they help someone. As Greek nationalists, they simply say, are you Greek? If you are, you're one of us. That's our message to the British people. Are you one of us? If you are, we will help you, even if you don't thank us for it now, because it's the right thing to do, because it's disunity is killing our people. We have to have unity, and the way to do that is to offer help, to give help, whether it's wanted or not, just to show that we're different to the others. We are people who absolutely understand, and we are here to help our people. We are here to serve our people, and that, by God, is what we are going to do. And nationalists all over Europe are getting this, and all of us have been put through the grinder in the last few years, and all the parties have talked to different people. Everyone's getting it, coming to the same sort of conclusions from very slightly different directions, because we're not cardboard copies of each other, we're different because our nations are different. Everybody's getting it, and nationalism is the coming wave. And there's so much chaos and trouble and problems for the old wave, for the old order. Their banking system's broke, their European Union's broke, their wars, nobody supports their wars, their economic system is a complete shambles. They're the ones in trouble. They're the ones from the past. We're the ones with all the future in front of us, which is why they tried so desperately to break us. And they came pretty close. But we've seen this weekend they have failed, and we are back, and so are nationalists and nationalism all over Europe. Now, here in Britain, we are, to an extent, held back by UKIP. Only in a way we're not. I tell you, we're only held back by UKIP in our areas, in decent working class areas of Britain, not the middle classes. They still haven't suffered enough pain yet to get over their snobbery of being associated with a party which first won seats in the working class north of England. And they can't get over that yet. So they'll want to carry on voting Tory or sitting at home and complaining or voting UKIP. But in our areas, UKIP only beat us if we let them in our heads. If we think UKIP are there, there's really nothing we can do, we'll just stick a leaflet at the door and mark time until they've gone. And they will be gone, but not yet. If we take that attitude, they will beat us. But we've seen it in Maryport, we've seen it in the northeast of England as well. When we go head to head with them, and we put in a good campaign, not by everybody, just by a few local people, putting in a good campaign, local people on local issues, talking to local people, then the fact is UKIP have nothing to say to working class Britain. Nothing whatsoever. They want to privatise everything except the post office. They make a slight fetish exception of the post office. Everything else they want to privatise. Benefits, their only criticism of the Tory party is they haven't cut hard enough, they haven't cut fast enough, they haven't cut ruthlessly enough. They've got nothing to say to ordinary people. Immigration, yeah, they're playing at being anti-immigration, but I'm sure you know, but just to reiterate, and for the viewers who aren't here, people perhaps not quite so involved, what's the difference between UKIP's immigration policy and the British National Party's immigration policy? Our immigration policy, as you know, is stop it and reverse it. Do whatever is necessary to do to ensure that this country remains ethnically and culturally British, English, Scots, Irish and Welsh for all times. And that includes thinking about things such as differential birth rates, particularly of the Muslim community against the rest of us, and saying these issues have to be discussed, debated, and things have to be done to address these problems humanely and decently and at enormous expense, but it must be addressed and dealt with. UKIP's immigration policy is a policy of mass immigration. When Enoch Powell in 1968 said we must be mad, literally mad to be bringing all these people in, he was talking about 50,000 a year. 50,000 a year, Powell was saying, is far too much for Britain, and everybody in Britain got it. UKIP's policy is net immigration of 50,000 a year. Not Poles, not Lithuanians, Latvians, Russians, not in fact people who in one generation we could assimilate because they're white Christian Europeans. But no, their policy is 50,000 not from Europe, 50,000 from Asia, 50,000 from Africa, and the only thing they have to say to the working man and women in this country is don't worry, we'll make sure we only let them in if they have work permits. You know what that means? We'll only let them in if they can come and take your job. That's UKIP's policy, because UKIP is a party of big business, for big business, and mass immigration keeps working class wages down. It damages decent trade union efforts to get decent conditions for ordinary working men and women. That's what UKIP's policy is. 50,000 of them allowed in our country every year to take our jobs. Marginally better than letting spongers in, but not much better, because they take our jobs, and the money that they earn very often they send abroad, as we were discussing yesterday. Disastrous to this economy, to this country's economy, disastrous for the ordinary people of this country. But in fact, UKIP's immigration policy is even worse than that. Because that's the headliner. They say, oh, don't worry, we'll restrict it to the number that Enoch Powell said was literally mad. On top of that, that's the net 50,000 extra. On top of that, they've got a policy of what they call balanced migration policy. Sounds nice, that, doesn't it? Balanced. No, it doesn't. Because it means that for every one of us who leaves the country, one of them will be allowed in. So in a typical year, about 250,000 British people leave this country forever, every single year, emigrating. France, Spain, Cyprus, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America, anywhere they can get to where they think they can get away from high taxation, nanny state government meddling, mass immigration, feeling foreign in your own country, and horrible weather. And they go. 250,000 of our people leave every year. And UKIP say, it's only a matter of numbers. That's fine. So if 250,000 of them leave, we've got space for 250,000 hard-working IT technology graduates from India. So their policy of balanced migration actually means that under UKIP, Britain's population balance shifts by 500,000 every year. 250,000 of our people leave, 250,000 of their people come in, and on top of the 500,000, they add another 50,000 for good luck. 550,000 people before you consider the differential death rate and birth rate of many of us, our people, being elderly, and the huge birth rate amongst various immigrant communities in this country. So UKIP's policy, realistically, is something like a population change of Britain becoming less British by the tune of nearly 1 million people every year. That's the reality of UKIP's policy. And yet we have the criminal BBC conspiring with them and conspiring to ensure that the public out there think that they're voting against immigration by voting UKIP. It's a gigantic con-trick. It's even bigger than the Thatcher con-trick, saying she understood how people felt they were being swamped by immigration and got the votes in 1979 and then did absolutely nothing about it except in letting the boat people, then all sorts of others. It's a huge con-trick. It's a con-trick which will be seen. It will be understood, and our time will come in that regard. UKIP have nothing to say to working people, and where we take them on, head to head with a good candidate, with a good local campaign, knocking doors, getting postal votes, getting people registered to vote, we beat them. They only beat us in our areas if we give up, if we don't fight them tooth and nail. And we must fight them tooth and nail, because they have nothing to say for our people, because we need to show we can beat them. They won't be there forever. UKIP is going to vanish. Guaranteed. At some stage over the next few years, Nigel Farage will do a deal with whoever the Tory leader is who succeeds David Cameron to have some kind of electoral pact, and the price of Mr Farage getting the chance of a Tory cabinet seat and a few other senior members of his party getting Tory cabinet seats, the price will be the dissolution of their party, the destruction of their party. And then, where are their people going to go? Well, there's a clue there in... Donna found this for me yesterday. The Telegraph Online, they've got the commentators section. UKIP talking about the BNP. These are UKIP members talking about the British National Party. And I know that, as a matter of fact, we haven't got a team working, pretending to be UKIP members or whatever. If we had, I would know about it. This is absolutely genuine. Here we are. Topic on immigration. Quote, "Be fair, it was the vile and odious," and they had it in inverted commas, BNP, who did the initial donkey work and forced open the door to conversation. That party's members were demonised, imprisoned, lost their jobs, were dragged before the courts. Good luck to UKIP, but do remember the little people who had the courage to stand up first. That's us. And a response. And a response. Correct. The BNP were like the poor bloody infantry who went over the top and charged the machine guns, with a predictable result, and they were left hanging on the old barbed wire. UKIP, in some respects, are the general staff, arriving after the worst of the fighting is over to claim the credit. Quite so. Now we'll do the song tonight, Hanging on the Old Barbed Wire. Some of you may not know it, so those who are here, remind me, we'll sing that later on. But as a matter of fact, it shows how people look up to us. Even our rivals in UKIP there, people looking up and understanding that we really did it. We forced the issue. Even more than they realise, I would say, because before 2009, the few months before the election, UKIP were on course to go from 9 seats, I think it was, down to 2 or 3 at the best. They were facing almost electoral wipeout, everybody believed, and it was only when the BBC and the mass media suddenly realised that we were on the point of getting 6 or 7 or 8 seats, that they suddenly took to boosting UKIP up on an enormous scale in order to stop us getting elected. And in 2009, our efforts, your efforts, money, sacrifice efforts, elected 2 British National Party MEPs and at least 8 UKIP MEPs as well. We forced them to do that by talking about the issue when no one else dared to do it. Immigration, grooming, British jobs for British workers, all those things. We did it when no one else dared to do it. We changed the climate, the political climate of Britain. We did it in the past. We've done it recently, as Simon Darby said. We did it with Syria just a few months ago, and we are going to do it again. This party, together, we make political history. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it again. And those 2 quotes that I read out to you, they're symptomatic. Millions of ordinary people feel like that and understand that. And they really greatly admire us. They greatly admire our party. But because of the way that we've been treated by the media, because of what we've been through, they believe or fear that we've gone. They're voting UKIP because they think either we've gone or we're not going to win. So they're voting them really as second best. They'd rather back us. But it's a question of credibility. And UKIP, because they're backed by every single mainstream national newspaper in this country, with the exception of The Independent and The Guardian. And The Guardian's circulation is about the same as our website, if they're lucky. And our website's quite significant, but it ain't a national newspaper level. The Guardian isn't a national newspaper. It's something subsidised by Labour councils with their jobs adverts, which is only read by about 100,000 hardcore liberal leftists who are working as managers in the multi-cult welfare state. That's the only... It's an in-house magazine for upper senior level managers of a corrupt system which is destroying our nation and our people. That's all The Guardian is. But everyone else who reads the other papers, millions of them, love this party, but they think maybe we've gone. Well, we haven't gone. This weekend, we've taken another very significant step back, and I'm off tomorrow to Brussels to meet up with our our design departments to meet up with Clive Jefferson as well, whose leg is now much, much better. And we're going to be discussing and working out how we're going to spend the biggest war chest this party's ever had. Because that's what we've got lined up for next year already. The biggest campaigning war chest this party has ever had. We have got a lot of money to spend, particularly in my constituency, but elsewhere as well. We've got a lot of money to spend. We're going to be asking for more. We're going to be doing fundraising events. And we were discussing what kind of fundraising event are we going to do? What are we going to do? So as some people saying, well, the Battle of Britain things that have worked okay, why don't we do it again? And I said, no, I don't want to do it again. We've done it once before. If we do it again, people will be comparing what we did in 2009 with what we're doing now. We need to do something different. So I said, I want to do something which is based on people, our people, at different regional events, coming together and singing. And really feeling part of a unity. And several people said to me, it's a great idea, but it can't be done, you know. Thank you, people. You proved last night it can be. And I can tell you this party is not hanging on the old barbed wire. Yes, we have been tattered. Yes, there are holes in our ranks that we have to fill. Some people are gone we won't get back. Some people we wouldn't get back. Some people we want back. Some people we are getting back. But we've also got new recruits coming through our ranks, filling the ranks. And we're not hanging on the old barbed wire. We've analysed the situation. We know how the enemy stopped us. We've been experimenting for 2 years to find how to get around their barbed wire entanglement emplacements and so on. We've been experimenting. We found the way to do it. And over the last few weeks, we've been rolling out the training as to how we're going to advance more effectively in future. Because for a long while, we terrified them. For 5 years, we terrified the establishment, and after five or 6 years of terror and trying to work out what to do, they found how to block us. And for 2 or 3 years, we were the ones in trouble. But it's an arms race, and now it's our turn to roll out the new things which will beat them. I'm absolutely sure of that. We've analysed, we're regrouping, we're rebuilding. We're going forward, and this weekend is part of it. We're going forward with greater confidence, with greater morale, and greater knowledge. We know now exactly what has to be done. You know, this weekend's been part of it. The training weekends we've been having over the last few months and the discussions, the things we've got online about the two fundamental pillars of it. Food aid, helping local communities, and voter registration and postal voting. That is what we've got to do. We know it. We feel it. We know it's right. Let's get out there, and after Bank Holiday Monday, let's do it. Thank you very much. Safe journey home.